most people, terrorism began on September 11th, 2001. And as dramatic as that attack was by Al-Qaeda, we have a long history of extremist violence in the United States. Homegrown terrorism, unfortunately, is a fact of life for many countries, and we've joined that fraternity. But let me give you the landscape. We're going to start with three categories to keep it simple. So let's start with race. There are black and white supremacists, neo-Nazis, white power skinheads, to name a few. Next, there's religion. This is the category that's most often associated with terrorism. However, we've seen this kind of activity for many years in our country. It's a category that says we have radical interpretations of the world's major religions, not just Islam. Last, there's issue orientation. Unlike racial and religious motivated groups, this group locks onto a specific issue, such as abortion, government authority, or even environmental preservation. The Tsarnaev brothers, despite having lived here for most of their lives, decided to put a bomb at the end of the Boston Marathon. The Tsarnaevs were indicative of the kind of threat we have and the kind of threat we will face in the future. Not because they were Muslim, but because they were American. Not because they adhered to one ideology, but in some cases embraced a complex compilation of several motivations, a hatred for two specific things, that being the United States government and the State of Israel. Radicalization is the issue here, and we have to try to disrupt that path of radicalization. But it's not a fixed trajectory with specific signposts along the way that after you check off a number of boxes for suspicious activity, you've got an extremist violent individual or a potential terrorist. What can we do as a country to better address this threat? The first thing we have to do is understand it's not something that happens over there. It happens in America by Americans. It's all about being safe. We know that we have social networks. Violent extremists have social networks. You know yours. Monitor them. Monitor the ones of your kids. This is not something that happens in a vacuum. It's time to act. Countries around the world have done it for decades. 40% of the attacks that are thwarted in the United States are done so because citizens call and let people know that something is wrong. Fight intolerance. Intolerance is a basic component of extremist behavior. And we need to push back against that with every fiber of our being. And last but not least, educate yourself. Find out what's happening in your community and what's being done about it. But security is everybody's business, and we can meet this challenge. We need to talk about a community-based effort that enhances social morality, integrity, and responsibility for these things. It's that community that's most susceptible to positive influence with regards to reducing the risk of radicalization and recruitment. This is not the end, it's not the beginning of the end, but it certainly is the end of the beginning. Thank you very much.